What would you do if you had a $2 trillion fortune at your fingertips? Well, the Sultan of Brunei doesn't have to imagine. He's living the dream. From a fleet of the world's most expensive cars to a palace fit for a king, the Sultan's lavish lifestyle is the stuff of legends. But just how does one man spend that kind of cash? Meet Hassan al-Bolkiah, the Sultan of Brunei, who's been ruling this small Southeast Asian nation since 1967. With an estimated net worth of a staggering $30 billion, he's one of the wealthiest monarchs in the world. Brunei's vast oil and gas reserves have turned this once sleepy kingdom into a playground for the ultra-rich, with the Sultan leading the pack. The Sultan's yacht collection. But the Sultan's extravagant lifestyle doesn't stop at four wheels. His passion for the high seas is just as impressive, with a fleet of mega yachts that would make any billionaire jealous. At the heart of his maritime collection is the jaw-dropping Time Sultan, a floating palace that cost a cool $500 million. This behemoth of the seas stretches over 400 feet long and boasts some seriously lavish features. We're talking multiple swimming pools, a helipad, a cinema, and even a mini submarine for underwater adventures. The interior is dripping with gold, marble, and the finest materials money can buy. It's like a five-star hotel on water with a crew of over 100 people catering to every whim. But the Time Sultan is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the Sultan's yacht collection. He's got a whole armada of smaller but still insanely luxurious vessels at his disposal. There's the Tits, a sleek 180-footer with a top speed of 30 knots, perfect for zipping around the islands of Brunei. And let's not forget the Nizam, a classic sailing yacht that's hosted everyone from Hollywood stars to royalty. Of course, maintaining this fleet of floating palaces doesn't come cheap. The annual running costs alone are estimated to be in the millions. But when you're the Sultan of Brunei, that's just a drop in the ocean. And hey, if you ever get bored of one yacht, you can always buy another, right? It's a level of luxury that most of us can only dream of. But for the Sultan, it's just another day in the life of a billionaire monarch. So next time you're struggling to decide between a new car or a vacation, spare a thought for the man who has to choose between his gold-plated Rolls-Royce and his $500 million yacht. But the Sultan's maritime adventures are just the beginning. Wait until you see what he's got stashed away in his private hangar. Helicopters and private jets. So, you think the Sultan's mega yachts are impressive? Wait until you see his high-flying fleet. When it comes to luxury travel, the Sultan of Brunei doesn't just settle for first class, he owns the whole plane. And we're not talking about some run-of-the-mill private jets here. Oh no, these babies are tricked out with features that would make even the most frequent flyer's jaw drop. Let's start with the helicopters, shall we? The Sultan's got a whole squad of them at his disposal, ready to whisk him off to whatever far-flung corner of his kingdom he desires. But these aren't your average choppers. We're talking custom interiors decked out in the finest leathers and woods, with all the bells and whistles you could imagine. Think plush seating, state-of-the-art entertainment systems, and even a fully stocked bar for those mid-flight cocktails. Because why settle for a boring old seatback tray when you can have a martini shaken at 10,000 feet? But the real showstoppers are the Sultan's private jets. These flying mansions are like nothing you've ever seen before. Take his Boeing 747, for example. This behemoth has been completely gutted and transformed into a palace in the sky. We're talking multiple bedrooms, a dining room that seats 20, and even a throne room for when the Sultan needs to conduct some mid-air business. And let's not forget the solid gold sinks in the bathrooms, because why not? But the 747 is just the beginning. The Sultan's also got a fleet of smaller jets for when he wants to travel in style without all the fuss. There's the Gulfstream G650, a sleek and speedy number that can whisk him across the globe in a matter of hours. And then there's the Airbus A340, a quad-engine beast that's been customized to the Sultan's exact specifications. We're talking a full-on spa, complete with massage tables and a steam room, because after a long day of ruling a country, a guy's got to unwind somehow, right? Now you might be thinking, sure, the Sultan's got some fancy planes, but what about the actual flying experience? Well, let me tell you, it's nothing short of incredible. The Sultan's pilots are some of the best in the business, with years of experience navigating the skies. And with all the latest avionics and navigation equipment at their fingertips, they can get the Sultan wherever he needs to go, no matter the weather or the time of day. But the real luxury is in the little details, like the fact that the Sultan never has to deal with airport security or long check-in lines, or the way his personal flight attendants anticipate his every need, whether it's a gourmet meal or a freshly pressed suit. It's a level of service that most of us can only dream of, but for the Sultan, it's just another day in the life. Of course, all this high-flying luxury doesn't come cheap. The Sultan's aviation fleet is estimated to be worth billions, with the 747 alone costing a cool $330 million. But when you're one of the richest men in the world, that's just a drop in the bucket. And hey, can you really put a price on never having to deal with a middle seat or a crying baby on a long-haul flight? So there you have it, a glimpse into the high-flying world of the Sultan of Brunei's aviation fleet. It's a level of luxury that most of us will never experience, but it's fun to dream, right? And who knows? Maybe one day you'll be lucky enough to catch a glimpse of one of these flying palaces as it soars overhead. But until then, we'll just have to settle for our cramped economy seats and hope for an upgrade. But as impressive as the Sultan's aviation collection may be, it pales in comparison to his most prized possession, his jaw-dropping primary residence, the Istana Nurul Iman. This palatial estate is unlike anything you've ever seen before, with a level of opulence that would make even the most extravagant billionaire blush. The Sultan's primary residence. Let's talk about the crown jewel of the Sultan's real estate portfolio, his mind-blowing primary residence, the Istana Nurul Iman. This place isn't just a palace, it's a city within a city. With a staggering 1,800 rooms, it dwarfs even the biggest mansions of other billionaires. In fact, it holds the Guinness World Record for the largest residential palace on the planet. That's right, the Sultan's house is literally in the record books. As you approach the palace, the first thing that strikes you is the sheer scale of it all. The main building stretches out like a gleaming white fortress, with golden domes and spires reaching towards the sky. It's like something out of a fairy tale, except this is no Disney castle. It's the real deal. Step inside and you'll find yourself in a world of opulence that's hard to wrap your head around. The ceilings soar overhead, trimmed in glittering gold leaf that catches the light from the crystal chandeliers. The floors are a mosaic of the finest marble, polished to a mirror shine. And everywhere you look, there are intricate details that speak to the Sultan's exquisite taste. Take the doors, for example. These aren't your average wooden slabs. Oh no, they're crafted from the most exotic woods, hand-carved with intricate designs that must have taken years to complete. And then there are the furnishings. We're talking plush velvet sofas, hand-woven silk rugs, and priceless antiques from every corner of the globe. But the Istana Nurul Iman isn't just about the bling, it's also a feat of engineering and design. The palace boasts its own power generation system, a massive garage that can hold up to 110 cars, and even a stable for the Sultan's prized polo ponies. And let's not forget the amenities. There's a mosque that can hold 1,500 worshippers, a banquet hall that can seat 5,000 guests, and even a full-sized helipad for when the Sultan needs to make a quick getaway. Of course, running a palace of this size takes an army of staff. The Istana Nurul Iman employs over 1,000 people, from chefs and gardeners to security guards and personal assistants. It's like a small town, all dedicated to keeping the Sultan living in the lap of luxury. But here's the real kicker. The Istana Nurul Iman is just one of the Sultan's many residences. Sure, it's his primary pad, but he's got a whole collection of palaces scattered across Brunei and beyond. Each one is a testament to his wealth and power, with its own unique style and amenities. Take his seaside retreat, for example. This sprawling villa sits right on the edge of the South China Sea, with its own private beach and marina. Or how about his mountain lodge, nestled high in the misty peaks of Brunei's rainforest? It's like something out of a Bond movie, with its sleek modern design and breathtaking views. And then there are his international properties. The Sultan's got pads in London, Las Vegas, and even a posh ski chalet in the Swiss Alps. Because when you're a billionaire monarch, one palace simply isn't enough. But what's the real story behind these far-flung estates? Are they just vacation homes, or do they serve a deeper purpose in the Sultan's global empire? That's what we'll be exploring next as we jet off to some of the most exclusive corners of the planet to uncover the secrets of the Sultan's worldwide real estate portfolio. From the glittering skyscrapers of Singapore to the rolling hills of the English countryside, we'll be taking you on a whirlwind tour of the Sultan's most impressive properties. And along the way, we'll be asking the tough questions, like how much do these places really cost and what role do they play in the Sultan's vast web of wealth and influence? It's a globe-trotting adventure that's sure to leave you speechless as we peel back the curtain on one of the most extravagant real estate collections in the world. So buckle up, because we're about to take a first-class trip into the high-stakes world of billionaire property deals. Global estates, properties beyond Brunei. But the Sultan's real estate empire doesn't stop at the borders of Brunei. Oh no, this guy's got properties scattered across the globe like a billionaire's version of a monopoly board. From the glittering skyscrapers of Singapore to the rolling hills of the English countryside, the Sultan's got a pad in just about every corner of the world. Let's start with his London digs. The Sultan's got a seriously swanky townhouse in the heart of the city, just a stone's throw from Buckingham Palace. I guess when you're a fellow monarch, you like to keep the competition close, right? This place is dripping in luxury, with marble floors, gilded ceilings, and a private garden that's bigger than most people's entire homes. But London's just the tip of the iceberg. The Sultan's also got a sprawling estate in the English countryside, complete with its own polo field and helipad, because why ride a horse when you can just fly in on your private chopper? And let's not forget his pied-à-terre in Paris, a penthouse with views of the Eiffel Tower that's probably worth more than the GDP of a small country. But it's not all about the bling. The Sultan's also got some seriously impressive historical properties in his collection. Take his villa in Tuscany, for example. This place dates back to the 16th century and has played host to everyone from Renaissance painters to modern-day celebrities. And then there's his castle in Scotland, a massive stone fortress that looks like something out of a fairy tale. I mean, who needs Disneyland when you can own your own real-life Magic Kingdom? But here's the thing, these properties aren't just for show, they're also a key part of the Sultan's global power play. By owning real estate in some of the world's most influential cities, the Sultan's able to rub elbows with the rich and powerful on their own turf. It's like having a seat at the table in every major decision-making room on the planet. And let's not forget the sheer value of these properties. The Sultan's real estate portfolio is estimated to be worth billions, with some of his most prized possessions fetching eye-watering prices on the open market. In fact, his London townhouse alone is rumored to be worth over $100 million. That's more than most of us will make in a lifetime. But for the Sultan, it's just another day in the life of a billionaire monarch. And hey, when you've got a fortune that's estimated to be in the trillions, what's a few $1 billion in real estate? It's like buying a pack of gum for the rest of us. Of course, managing a global property portfolio of this size is no easy feat. The Sultan's got a team of advisors and managers working around the clock to keep everything running smoothly, from maintenance and security to high-stakes real estate deals. It's like a small army of suits, all dedicated to keeping the Sultan's empire humming along. But what's the end game here? Is the Sultan just collecting properties like a kid collecting baseball cards? Or is there a deeper strategy at play? That's the question on everyone's mind as we jet off to our next stop on the Sultan's global real estate tour. But before we do, let's take a moment to appreciate the sheer scale of it all. The Sultan's real estate portfolio spans multiple continents, with properties in some of the most sought-after locations on the planet. It's a testament to his wealth, power, and influence, and it's sure to leave you picking your jaw up off the floor. But what role do these properties play in the Sultan's vast web of wealth and power? Well, that's where things start to get really interesting, because as it turns out, the Sultan's real estate holdings are just one piece of a much larger puzzle. The real key to the Sultan's global influence lies in his iron grip on Brunei's vast oil and gas reserves. This tiny nation sits on some of the most valuable natural resources on the planet, and the Sultan's not afraid to use them to his advantage. But just how deep do these reserves go, and what kind of power do they give the Sultan on the world stage? That's the question we'll be digging into next, as we explore the fascinating and sometimes controversial world of Brunei's energy industry. Trust me, you won't want to miss it, because when it comes to the Sultan's black gold, there's more than meets the eye. The Sultan's global influence. So we've seen the Sultan's jaw-dropping collection of properties around the world, but what's the real source of his power? Well, it all comes down to one thing: oil. You see, Brunei is sitting on a massive reserve of black gold, and the Sultan has a tight grip on every last drop. It's hard to overstate just how much oil we're talking about here. Brunei may be small, but it's got one of the highest per capita oil reserves in the world. And with the Sultan in charge of the country's energy industry, that means he's got a direct line to some of the most valuable resources on the planet. But it's not just about the money, although let's be real, there's a lot of money involved. The Sultan's control over Brunei's oil and gas reserves also gives him a huge amount of political and economic clout on the global stage. When you've got that much of the world's energy supply under your thumb, people tend to sit up and take notice. Take, for example, the Sultan's relationship with China. In recent years, Brunei has become an increasingly important player in China's Belt and Road Initiative, a massive infrastructure project that seeks to connect Asia, Europe, and Africa. And with the Sultan's help, China has been able to secure access to Brunei's oil and gas reserves, cementing a powerful alliance between the two nations. But the Sultan's influence doesn't stop there. He's also got strong ties to other major players in the global energy game, like Saudi Arabia and Russia. By working closely with these nations, the Sultan is able to shape the world's energy markets in ways that benefit Brunei and, of course, his own bottom line. Of course, all of this power and influence doesn't come without its controversies. The Sultan's tight control over Brunei's energy industry has led to accusations of corruption and mismanagement, with some critics arguing that the country's oil wealth isn't being used to benefit the people as much as it should. There are also concerns about the environmental impact of Brunei's oil and gas industry, particularly given the country's location in the heart of the rainforest. The Sultan has pledged to make Brunei a leader in sustainable energy, but there's still a long way to go before that becomes a reality. Despite these challenges, though, there's no denying the sheer scope of the Sultan's power and influence. With his hand on the tap of some of the world's most valuable resources, he's able to shape global politics and economics in ways that few other leaders can match. So the next time you fill up your tank at the gas station, take a moment to think about the complex web of power and money that brought that fuel to your car. Chances are, the Sultan of Brunei had something to do with it. And that's a level of influence that's hard to wrap your head around. But of course, the Sultan's power isn't just about oil and gas. He's also got one of the most jaw-dropping collections of rare and exotic cars in the world, including some seriously drool-worthy sports cars. And let me tell you, when it comes to high-performance vehicles, the Sultan doesn't mess around. His fleet of Ferraris alone is enough to make any gearhead weak in the knees. But what really sets his collection apart are some of the ultra-rare models he's managed to get his hands on. Special sports cars. Let's talk about the Sultan's fleet of high-performance sports cars that'll make any car enthusiast drool. I mean, we're talking about some of the rarest and most coveted models on the planet here. Take the Ferrari F40, for example. This beast of a machine is already a legend in its own right, but the Sultan's got his hands on something even more special, a right-hand drive version. That's right, he's got one of the only F40s in the world that's been custom built for driving on the left side of the road. And that's just the beginning. The Sultan's also the proud owner of a Ferrari F50, another ultra-rare supercar that's sure to turn heads wherever it goes. With its sleek aerodynamic body and powerful V12 engine, this thing is like a rocket on wheels. Of course, the Sultan's F50 is no ordinary model. It's been customized to his exact specifications, with a unique color scheme and interior that's fit for a king. But the Sultan's sports car collection isn't just about Ferraris. He's also got a serious thing for Lamborghinis, and his fleet includes some of the most iconic models in the brand's history. There's the Lamborghini Diablo, a 90s classic that still turns heads today with its angular, aggressive design. And let's not forget the Lamborghini Huracan, a rare and beautiful machine that's been lovingly maintained by the Sultan's team of expert mechanics. Of course, when you've got a car collection as impressive as the Sultan's, you can't just keep them locked away in a garage. No, these babies were meant to be driven, and driven hard. The Sultan's been known to take his sports cars out for a spin on the winding roads of Brunei, putting them through their paces and pushing them to their limits. And when he's not behind the wheel himself, he's been known to lend his cars out to visiting dignitaries and celebrities, giving them a taste of the high life on four wheels. But here's the real kicker. The Sultan's sports car collection is just one small part of his overall fleet. I mean, we've already talked about his massive collection of luxury cars, from Rolls-Royces to Bentleys, but the sports cars are in a league of their own. These are the kinds of machines that most of us can only dream about, the ultimate expression of speed, power, and style. And yet, for the Sultan, they're just another day in the life. He's got the kind of wealth and influence that most of us can't even imagine, and his car collection is just one small reflection of that. But hey, that's the beauty of being a billionaire monarch. You get to live life on a whole different level. Of course, it's not all about the cars themselves. The Sultan's sports car collection is also a testament to his incredible attention to detail and his commitment to excellence. Every single one of these machines is maintained to the highest possible standards, with teams of mechanics working around the clock to keep them in top condition. It's like having your own personal pit crew ready to jump into action at a moment's notice. With the Sultan's unimaginable wealth, you might think his day-to-day life is filled with non-stop extravagance and over-the-top luxury. But what does a typical day really look like for one of the world's richest rulers? Does he spend his mornings cruising in a different supercar each day, or hold lavish banquets every night in his palace's grand dining halls? Lavish lifestyle, daily life of a billionaire monarch. So what does a day in the life of the Sultan of Brunei actually look like? Well, when you're one of the richest men on the planet, you can pretty much do whatever you want, whenever you want. But even for a billionaire monarch, the Sultan's daily routine is pretty epic. For starters, the Sultan doesn't exactly wake up in your average bedroom. No, he rises each morning in one of the 1,788 rooms of his massive palace, the Istana Nurul Iman. This place is so big, it's literally got its own postcode. And with amenities like 5 swimming pools, an air-conditioned stable for the Sultan's 200 polo ponies, and a banquet hall that can seat over 5,000 guests, it's safe to say the Sultan's not lacking for space. But the Sultan's day doesn't just revolve around lounging in luxury. As the ruler of Brunei, he's got a country to run. So after a gourmet breakfast prepared by his team of personal chefs, the Sultan gets down to business. He might start the day with a meeting with his advisors, discussing everything from the country's oil reserves to international relations. Of course, even when he's working, the Sultan does it in style. He's been known to conduct meetings from the back of one of his many luxury cars, cruising the streets of Brunei's capital while discussing matters of state. And when he needs to travel further afield, he's got his pick of private jets and helicopters to choose from. But it's not all work and no play for the Sultan. In fact, he's got a reputation as one of the world's most lavish party hosts. When the Sultan throws a bash, no expense is spared. We're talking gourmet feasts, top-shelf champagne, and entertainment from some of the biggest names in music and film. Just take his 50th birthday celebration, for example. The Sultan flew in Michael Jackson himself for a private concert, and the King of Pop wasn't the only A-lister in attendance. The guest list read like a who's who of Hollywood, with stars like Elton John, Stevie Wonder, and Whitney Houston all making appearances. And when the Sultan's not entertaining guests, he's got plenty of other ways to keep himself occupied. He might take a spin in one of his many high-performance sports cars, or go for a cruise on one of his luxury yachts. He's also got a serious passion for polo and has been known to take to the field himself for a chukker or two. But perhaps the most impressive thing about the Sultan's lavish lifestyle is just how effortless he makes it all look. For most of us, the idea of living in a palace, driving a fleet of supercars, and partying with the world's biggest celebrities is the stuff of wild fantasies. But for the Sultan, it's just another day in the life. Of course, living like a billionaire monarch isn't all fun and games. The Sultan's extravagant lifestyle has drawn criticism from some quarters, with accusations of excess and even corruption. But love him or hate him, there's no denying that the Sultan of Brunei lives life on a scale that most of us can hardly imagine. And when it comes to entertaining, the Sultan doesn't hold back. His parties are legendary, with lavish spreads of gourmet cuisine, top-shelf drinks flowing freely, and world-class performers taking the stage. But what really goes on behind the scenes at these opulent events? Let's just say that when you're the Sultan of Brunei, a casual get-together is anything but casual.